Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of episode 1 of Inside Age of Empires Online. In the first part we talked a little bit about how we could fix up our gameplay from last game. So just a brief recap of what happened last game. Last game I opened with a 2-stable start against a barracks opening and kind of had map control and tried to age, but did so kind of in an ineffective way. I managed to get up and I managed to hold the first fight, but once I had held, I didn't really have the necessary counter units to kind of keep up with his spam, the necessary economy to keep up with the spam, and eventually I just kind of lost because I wasn't able to effectively counter his units that he was making in an efficient way where I could, still make use of my age 3 advantage. So this game is the part 2, and this is the adapting and the fixing up your build and the going from game to game and on the fly, kind of coming up with a little bit of a fix for yourself. And so I think some of the positive things you can take away from the last game was, it was effective. It was effective at the start. It got me map control. I was never under any pressure. I was never raided whatsoever. It kind of kept him in his base, feeling uncomfortable, kind of kept him blind in the dark, not really knowing what was going on, and it let me age eventually. It let me get my first age up in, and age up before he could, which ended up, being kind of good and bad in the same way. So this game is another 2-stable opening, and you can see, just still more of the standard stuff. 4 villagers. This time my gold mine didn't have any trees next to it, but I still elect to build my gold mine or my storehouse over there, simply for the fact that I want to gather a little bit of gold so I can get priestesses out during the transition. And the wood, it's not close, but remember, once again, the whole idea of the early camel opening is getting the first camel out, trying to maintain map control, keep him from doing any early raids, and just keeping control of the situation. And so that's what I'm trying to do here as well. So it's not great that I'm carting back and forth, but it is what it is. I get the storehouse up pretty early on, early in age 2, and start mining over there with the priestess as well. So no big loss. It's not ideal, but once again, here comes the first stable, and so it's kind of going to transition into more of that similar play as we saw in the first game. It's going to be 2-stable play against either 1 stable or 1 barracks opening. I don't remember exactly what he does. I think he goes 1 stable opening. And once again, the whole idea behind the 2-stable opening is you get a better camel mass, get better map control, you can keep control of the map a little bit better, you can be the aggressive one raiding while the fights are going on, etc., etc. So, you can see the stable there. He does have his stable coming up. It's a little bit behind mine, but nothing too big. It's probably just a matter of maybe 1 villager or 1 storehouse being built or 1 house being built of a timing. So I get my first camel queued up here momentarily once I get on the house, which isn't good, and I send it immediately towards the enemy base. You can see I catch his scout there a little bit. I go after his scout, and at the same time I'm scouting with my scout at his base, and I see his first camel there as well. And when I see that camel running, it's likely that that camel's running right to his scout to help protect it, which kind of forces me back. But in this matchup, if you both open camels, you're kind of forced to stay in your base because of how fast units train and how efficient camels are at killing themselves. You kind of need to almost just sit on your camels until you think you have a superior number, and that's kind of where the double stable opening comes into play. I get a better camel mass, I can kill his camels, and then I have the more camels so that I can win the early skirmishes against the slingers, and then in effect apply pressure with a larger camel mass, knowing I have map control and kind of keep him confined to his base. So we'll see how that plays out. I get my 4 camels here, and you see he's got 4 or 5 camels as well. So they're sitting on about even camel masses. But what you don't see is he's elected to go with a barracks as his second military building, and I've gone with the stables, followed by my third military building being a barracks, as well as my fourth being a barracks, and fifth and sixth all being barracks as well. Kind of the adaptation I went with here is I decided instead of, you know, getting the camels out and getting out a couple extra units and then aging, to get the camels out, get out a bunch of units, get my economy in line, because if you remember from the last game, that's one of the failings in my strategy was I fell behind economically. Well, you can see this little raid coming here. So I fell behind economically, and so the goal of this game is to try not to fall behind economically, keep control with camels, and then either age to get, you know, techs on your military units, or to get war elephants, or to get upgraded slingers, to get something that can deal with his bigger slinger mess. Because you got to realize when I'm going 2 stables and he goes 1 stable, 1 barracks, he's going to have more slingers, and so I have to have some way to, in the mid game, kind of to combat that, being I'm going to have lower numbers. As you can see, I have 1 camel stuck in the gold mine. Got to fish him out. He comes out back to mining. Once again, you know, I should probably be scouting a little bit better here, just because I'm not quite sure what he's doing. There it is. You can see there he's got all barracks and not a second stable. So I know I have the camel mass again. I know I have camel control, being I have I've killed a couple camels, and I can see he's got a fewer number of camels. I can kind of feel comfortable knowing that I've kind of got map control now, and that he can't really push into me with camels. You can see in that first little raid that he did that I killed a bunch of his camels, and that actually kind of gives me the confidence to go ahead and build on those berries out there, knowing that likely he's not going to feel very comfortable raiding, mostly because of the fact that he knows if he raids, he's got smaller camel numbers, and I can likely just kill his camels. So I feel pretty comfortable gathering those berries out there, and don't really feel like I have to be confined to my base necessarily, which is a good thing. So you can see I'm just kind of massing up here. Kind of went into a little bit of damage control after that raid, trying to get my houses, my populations stable, trying to get my barracks up so that I can start getting some slingers going, while at the same time keeping up the camel mass, because remember, the theme behind this build is to always be ahead in the camel mass. And you can see here I was actually kind of disgruntled with how I was playing at the time, but it ends up churning out okay because I have the better camel mass. And you can see how that kind of that 2 stable effect in these little mid-game pushes really pays off for Egypt. You get that kind of meat shield, and when you're in the medium numbers, the slingers can't really kite because they'll just get kind of chased down by the camels. Yet they still offer a good enough meat shield that, you know, a large number of slingers can't just plow through them and then plow through the subsequent slingers you have behind them. So even though I have quite a few fewer units in that fight, and even though I have quite a few, probably quite a bit less pop, I think at that time I was 8 or 10 pop behind. The fact that we were fighting near my base and that I had the camels really did actually, you know, kind of play into my favor. This is a little bit of a mistake here for me. I should probably be raiding with my camels now, especially after I've won the fight. I could definitely be being aggressive with them, knowing that I've just killed all of his camels, knowing that he's only got a single stable that he can make them out of. I can make them out of 2 stables. I'm definitely going to have more, but I do remember during this game, these slingers are doing my head in right now. I am trying my best to get these slingers out here, and I know they'll fit because I just saw one go out. And so here we'll see Zuda's battle against the slingers. He gets 1. Yep. Oh, he gets 2. No. Oh, there they are. There they come out. And those slingers in that barracks positioning comes back to haunt me again. You can see another one gets stuck. And they keep getting stuck and they keep getting stuck, but whatever. That kind of stuff happens, and you just have to kind of play through it and hope that the pathing eventually gets fixed. But You can see now I'm just kind of sitting on my base, trying to get my mass up. I know that he's got a lot of slingers. I know his economy's good because I haven't managed to harass it at all. So I know that he's got a big mass, and I don't necessarily want to push. I kind of want to have him push into me, fight him, and then make a big counterplay with my camels, you know, do kind of a raid with my camels. And I do believe at some point here I go and I send a couple camels off to raid. No, it looks like I'm just going to push with my whole army. So here I come with my army push. You know, I'm nearing my max pop. I'm getting up my armory, which is good. The armory could probably come a little earlier, but you know, it comes when it comes, and it's a little late. But here you can see I'm making use of my camels. I know I have the better camel mass. I know I can afford to split a couple off. I know I can afford to be aggressive with them. And here we kind of walk into each other a little bit, had a little bit of lag, but we engage in the fight. And once again, here's my camel mass coming to play for me. So I lose all my camels up front, but because I have the superior camel mass, I don't have to worry about him having a camel advantage over me. And so even though I'm losing the fight in the choke, I'm able to be constantly harassing him with my camels because of my superior camel numbers. I'm able to kill some priestesses. You can see all the farms he's got. That's a direct result of me opening double stables as well. Just, you know, having the threat of having more camels has just made him insecure enough to not want to leave his base whatsoever, which is a win in itself. And you know, in that raid I killed a couple of units. I killed I think a priestess or two, maybe a villager or two as well. And I've just kind of kept map control even without really taking map control, which is kind of a win in itself. Now you can see he kind of makes the smart counterplay, but once again, just reinforcing your base is really strong. I'm a little bit ahead because I've been hunting and farming all over the map, whereas he's been just farming contained in his base. And I pretty much just am able to hold here, and I'm pretty content with that, being I've got these camels. And here you can see where the camel play really starts to get me ahead. Here's Zuda against the slingers part 2, trying to get those slingers out of their stuck position. And you can see now, you know, I'm able to age because I've got the map control. He can't really push into me. I'm able to harass the gold mines, which, by the way, is the easiest spot to harass. You know, you look at your own gold mine, you know what's running out. You got to think, hey, he's making the same units I am. He's probably running out of gold around the same time. Go check the gold mines. And so, you know, I go and I check the gold mine, which is a logical spot. I kill a couple villagers, you know, force him to bring his army back if it was pressuring me, which, you know, makes my age up all that much more easy. You know, I just disrupt him, and anytime you can even make villagers run around with camels is absolutely great. So, you know, I kill a couple villagers, force his whole army to come back to deal with the raid. Meanwhile, I'm aging, I'm teching up, you know, I'm doing all sorts of good stuff, getting me a bunch of advantages, which is just all fine and good, and really is a direct result of having more camels, winning the fight, having more camels left alive after the fight because I had more camels to start with. And now, you know, I can just use those camels to constantly be playing aggressive, constantly be running around, and now I'm aged up, and I have a way to deal with his mass slingers, which was, you know, kind of the theme of dealing with our transitioning and figuring out a way to play better after a game and learning from your mistakes. And so last game my mistake was, you know, I couldn't get enough slingers out or enough war elephants out to deal with his slingers. You know, now I've got the infrastructure kind of set up to make a bunch of slingers. I've got the upgrade. I've still got the camels running around. You can see I'm just absolutely devastating his gold mine there. All I've got to do now is hold in my base, and if I can hold in my base, I pretty much win the game because I've just, you know, I've killed all of his gold mining villagers. I've got more camels that are threatening him, and as you can see, now that the Slinger Veteran upgrade has kicked in, I am going to hold in my base, even with the slingers that are refusing to fight. And from there, it's, you know, it's GG, which makes me feel pretty good about myself, knowing that, you know, my original plan of, you know, starting stables heavy will actually work and won me a game.